Hi, this is Belinda Calibriali and this is Talking High Performance with Belle. So I'm making this podcast for people who want to live their best life, people who know that there's more in them, but they just don't know how to get it. So there's a gap, something's missing, I'm making it for them. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we're in October already. Welcome to another episode of Talking High Performance with Belle. I can't believe it's been 6 months that we have been doing this and I'm absolutely loving it. So thanks for supporting me on the journey. And this month is all about recharging and restoring balance. Today is what I want to talk about into our daily life and doing that through being more mindful. And I think sometimes, we live in a world where it's easy to get triggered by the actions of others, and we live in a world where it's easy to get distracted by external influences. And sometimes we feel like we're making decisions in a hurry and which sometimes aren't even congruent to our values. So I want to talk about mindfulness today and make that a big focus. And it's the practice of being present and aware of what we're feeling in any given moment, which, helps us to reduce stress and anxiety in our body. And by doing this, we can choose our thoughts, we can choose our actions, and it allows us to feel more relaxed. And it's so important just to live a high performance life. And it's so important just in living a life where we feel refreshed, recharged, and energized. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. And I want to start by talking a little bit deeper about mindfulness. And I want you to observe where you are at this very moment. So, how are you feeling? Do you feel centered? Do you feel connected? And mindfulness isn't just something that we wake up to and we have. We need to bring attention to these moments and to create this as part of our daily routines. Are you bringing your full senses to a situation? Do you know where you are? Do you know what you're grateful for? What's around you? What can you see? What can you smell? Have you noticed that before? And it's about thinking about how you're showing up in any given moment. Are you being intentional or are you reacting, which quite often we do, especially when we're overwhelmed or when we're stressed. And the more you notice your thoughts, and this is especially true with me, the more I notice sometimes the work that needs to be done, or, I notice the areas of my life where I can do this quite well, and other areas where there's a little bit of work. So if you think about yourself in this present moment, are you clear with where you are and what you're doing, or are you distracted? Are you listening when people around you are talking, or are you sort of thinking ahead or thinking about what needs to be done? And is your first reaction in a situation the best one, or is there room to improve? Quite often if I think about me and my kids, there's some room to improve when I think about my first reaction and what I do and what I could be doing. And this all comes down to mindfulness. And doesn't mean showing up perfectly in any given moment. It means just being aware and being willing to move the needle a little bit better in the future. So why then is mindfulness so important in the practice of recharging? How does it help us? The practice of mindfulness allows us to create time for mental rest. So often when we're busy with what we're feeling and what we're thinking, or we're worried and distracted, we're drained and we don't show up as our best self. And just by bringing our attention back to the present moment, to the thoughts in front of us, it allows us to rest from what we've been thinking about in the past, to rest for the unknown of the future and things that we don't know. And when we can show up more mindful, when we can do this, we can better manage our energy. We can pay attention to what our energy is like in this given moment, and we can work on ways to improve that. So that's the first way why mindfulness is important. The second way, mindfulness helps us to reduce stress. So when we can recognize in the moment, what our stresses and what our triggers are, it's much easier to begin to do something about it. Once we become aware, we can then work backwards and go, okay, this triggers me, or this is a stressor for me. How can I make this better in the future? Now, this might not always be something that you can change. You might still have these stresses and these triggers, but what can you do when you notice that you're starting to feel this way? Sometimes it could be in saying no to a relationship that no longer serves us. Sometimes it's focusing on our breath. Sometimes it's going for a run when we notice these triggers. And it's just being aware and going, okay, this is how I feel, or this is how I usually feel when I'm put in this situation. What can I do to manage my energy a little bit better and to be more mindful moving forward? Another way why I think mindfulness is so important in the practice of recharging our energy is it allows us to focus on our emotional well-being. Have you ever been around someone who doesn't make you feel that great or leaves you feeling emotional or agitated or tired all the time. When we talk about recharging, it's not just the physical that we're talking about, it's also the emotional. So being able to observe and be mindful in how we feel, especially around particular individuals, it helps us to maintain our energy. And this is really important when we are around people that, can frustrate us or agitate us, is to become curious. Why are they feeling, why are they acting that way? Rather than frustrated or angry. It doesn't mean we need to change our values. It doesn't mean we need to agree. But when we can put curiosity around it and go, that's interesting that they're showing up that way. I wonder why that's happening, and just be really mindful around that, it can help us to protect our energy. And so today I want to wrap up this episode by sharing with you 5 ways to bring more mindfulness into your days. And they're simple ways. Some ways you might already be doing, other ways might be room to improve. The first way is to set your daily intention. When you wake up in the morning, choose how you want to show up for both yourself, but also for those around you. How do you want to show up for your colleagues at work? How do you want to show up for your partner? How do you want to show up for your kids? What 3 words would you choose to live by? If there were 3 words that you would be happy for others to describe you as, or 3 words for you to be happy to go, yep, I live by these words, and this is how I show up daily, what would they be? So set your daily intention. The second way is to plan your mornings. Instead of jumping out of bed and doing what you've always done, take some time to be alone. Sit in silence, practice a meditation, go for a walk, whatever works for you. But plan your mornings and be really mindful in how you set up your day, because it has a really big effect on the outcome of your day. Third one is visualize your larger goals. Rome wasn't built in a day, and likewise your dreams and goals are a work in progress. So spend a couple of minutes each day, visualize, where do you want to be? What's that star that you want to reach, and why is it important? And on days when it seems hard or too far away or unachievable, try and just focus on those small steps that will get you there, heading in the right direction. So number 3, visualize your larger goals. Number 4 is to listen to your body. Listen to your body when it needs to rest. Our bodies tell us, when we need rest, and we often ignore them and we just push through. So I'm telling you to do the opposite of that today. If your body needs to rest, listen to it. What can you do differently? What outcome will that have on the rest of your week? For me, it could be a midweek break. When I don't want to wake up early one morning, or it could be sleeping in half an hour. But then on the weekends when I'm feeling recharged, I can have that, 4:30 a.m. start because I feel motivated and I've listened to my body and I feel recharged. And then the final point is end your day on a positive note. Before you go to bed, instead of focusing on what went wrong and looping on these thoughts, which quite often we can do, begin practicing what went right. What are you grateful for? What you achieved? What progress have you made? What happened on that particular day, and how did that change the outcome of your day? If something happened that wasn't great, take it as a learning. Take it as something that you can something that you can do, an opportunity to grow next time. Don't allow it to weigh you down for too long. It's just not worth it. Life's about progress, not perfection. Perfection's boring. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Mindfulness is such an important part in allowing us to recharge. And once we're aware of how we feel, it's much easier to regulate what we do need and don't need moving forward. So today I wanted to share that with you and get you thinking about 5 simple steps to bring more mindfulness into your days. So if you enjoyed this episode, you'll love next week, where I'll be helping you to design a framework for regular recharging, in the hope that the exhaustion that many of you may be feeling heading into the end of the year is a thing of the past. So until next week, live a successful, purposeful and fully charged life. Your coach, Belle.